Hello, everybody. I am the proactive caregiver, and I specialize in educating others on how to be proactive by empowering you, the caregiver. Because if you cannot take care of yourself, then you cannot take care of your loved one. Today, I want to talk to you about caregiver blindsides. Why? Because many of us are stuck behind them. Maybe you're reacting to life. Maybe you're fighting to find a sense of normalcy. Maybe you're in denial of how much you are prepared to do or capable of handling. I know I was. So from one caregiver to another, I want to share with you what I experienced and learned of my blind sides after Mom passed. So if you have ever found yourself saying, we have time for that, I'll deal with it later, I kind of want to caution you on that because that's where those blind sides usually happen. Time is a gift and we don't want to take advantage of it. And yet we do need to take time when we need to focus on ourselves and allow things in life like grieving to take place. I needed to take the time, but I didn't want to take the time because, like many others, we don't want to have to deal with death and dying. And as long as I could keep going forward and just keep going through the checklist and keep some sort of routine going, I didn't have to think about it. But at some point in time, I had to stop to reassess what direction I was going in. Why was I going in this new direction? What were my new life goals? What were my new desires? Oh yeah, I had these dreams that I had before caregiving began. Oh yeah, what were those? I actually wanted to think about, I had this time to be able to take adventures, but yet I was still feeling guilty about, oh, I get to do this now. And of course, I needed to focus on my health, physically, mentally, spiritually. 2023 was a big year for me of not just letting go of Mom, but experiencing all kinds of different caregiver grief. There was the loss of a loved one, which obviously, but what I wasn't expecting was this loss of letting Mom go brought back the feelings from 6 years prior of letting Dad go. It was suddenly this fresh grieving because now both of them are gone. And I don't feel like I'm alone in the world, but it's really weird when both of your parents have passed on. I had this loss of the role, of the routine that Mom and I shared together for well over 6 years, well over 10 years. There was this loss of purpose because Mom became my purpose. I had this loss of confidence because it took so long for me to build up to what I was capable of doing, what I was able to do for Mom. And then suddenly it was this second guessing of what am I capable of doing now? And who am I going to do that for? Ironically, all the times during caregiving when I thought about, oh, when I'm no longer doing this, I'm going to do all these things. And then the opportunity came around and I was second guessing, what direction do I go in life? there was also this loss of focus on myself, which led into the loss of some health. No. When mom was declining, I used to throw myself into research. I had this insatiable knower part. I need to know how the body works. I need to know why this is happening. I need to know if this is going to happen to me. And then when I didn't need to know that detail, I needed to know what was happening to me. So instead of digging into the dementia research, I started digging into the health, and beyond frustrated when it came to learning through nutrition what my body needed, where I was going to find it, how much of it I needed, what supplements I needed to take, how often I needed to take them. When I got up to 16 supplements a day, and after seeing blood work and the decline of my lipid panel and kidneys struggling, I was done. Done and frustrated with, eat this way, it's healthy. Eat that way, it's healthy. Eat this, it tastes better. Eat that, it's going to sustain you more. Don't eat this because of your blood type. Don't eat this because of what? It was like, time out, everybody. I need to figure out what my body needs. I need to find my center again, because I certainly felt like I was off center. The thing is that when I reached this point of grieving what I thought I knew, and this space I was in and the comfort I felt with my own body changed again. As if I wasn't already going through enough of these daily challenges, monthly, bodily challenges, perimenopause, etc. I was changing yet again. Why? Well, that's the interesting part. So men may not grasp this entirely, but when a woman is pregnant in her first trimester, the body releases these hormones naturally to slow her down, because in that first trimester, the fetus has the heart, the brain, and the gut, along with all of those starting of the systems, our adrenal system, our nervous system, our immune system, all of that stuff is just coming together. And she needs to be calm and slow and sleep for a lot of that growth. Well, when it came time for grieving, I kind of felt that again. I just had to slow down, only to find out that the body does this naturally. It's kind of an interesting spiritual response in adapting to the loss of that life force energy, that connection that I had between mom and dad, because I was kind of going back and remembering what was the loss with dad. My body was saying, slow down. But I wasn't going to slow down, because slowing down meant I had to sit with these feelings. And I wasn't ready to sit with them. I just wasn't. So I had the to-do lists. I had my projects. I had whatever I could to throw myself into. But my body just kept dragging, and it was so tired and exhausted. And I couldn't figure out why. Well, turns out that grief can actually cause major sleep problems, chest pains. I had several times that I was concerned about my heart, and of course, gastrointestinal problems. A lot of the nutrition, either the stuff I was eating or the stuff I should or could have been eating to help with energy, I wasn't. In fact, I wasn't eating much at all. I lost my appetite entirely. I wasn't even drinking water enough. All the things I had learned of being proactive. I didn't forget, but I had to force myself to stay with some sort of healthy daily regimen. And it wasn't enough. And my blood panel showed that. And my lack of sleep showed that. And so many areas in my life showed that. Pushing through the exhaustion was a blind side that I never expected to experience or feel. I knew I was going to be sad. I knew it was going to be different life going forward. But when it actually happened and I was living in the moment, I didn't realize how different it really was becoming. I also had this moment, or several moments actually, that I couldn't cry. I just couldn't cry until I started to do some energetic therapies and the emotional floodgates removed. And then I was at the other part where I couldn't stop crying. But it felt good. It actually felt good. And that's something that I want to encourage you to do. Even if your loved one is still with you and you're feeling challenged, find a private moment to cry. Whether it's in the shower or watching a movie or listening to sad music, let yourself feel that, because I felt a huge weight come off my shoulders when I did that. I felt a huge filling, which is weird because I felt empty and voided after Mom passed. At this point in time, what I wasn't expecting was this amount of grieving. It wasn't just about Mom. For whatever reason, everything else that had happened in my life that I powered through, that I just pushed right through, next list, next project, next job, whatever it was, all of this stuff surfaced. And it caught me off guard because I was processing Mom and then Dad and then previous relationships and then family situations and broken relationships, jobs that I realized I could have stayed or should have stayed. I could have stayed longer. What is life going to be like going back to? I just didn't expect to have this intense process of grieving, but it was grieving life as I knew it, not just letting Mom go. But when my caregiver role with Mom ended and I actually took the time to reflect on my life, I started to feel something very different, positive, but just different, odd, crazy. I don't even know what words to put to it at this point, because this inner feeling of the Holy Spirit that is within us, around us, and works through us, that started surfacing in ways I never expected. So here's what this new way of life has helped me learn. Life doesn't stop. And I know that sounds basic and duh, but when your loved one reaches the end of their journey and you are no longer caring for them in the way you were, life doesn't stop. Yes, you need to take the time to pause and feel that loss. But it also opens up a time where you can feel other things, you can feel new things. Another thing that I learned, just as we needed to redirect our loved ones during their time of illness, especially for those caregivers who are caring for someone living with dementia, as you learn to redirect them, we also have to be redirected. I think at some point, I was grieving to the point that I had to be reminded, hey, we're still over here. We're still alive, because I was so focused on what I was having to let go of and accepting, going through those grieving phases and trying to grasp the acceptance of what actually happened, and not going through the, I wish I would have done this, I should have done that, oh, next time I'm going to make sure. But there is no next time, because she's gone. And I did have those moments where I got myself thrown into a project, working, just going away, and all of a sudden looking at the time, and I thought, oh no, I need to go because she's going to be... I don't need to go because she's not there. She's not waiting. And it's a reset. It's another reality reset to acknowledge, accept, and move forward. It sounds really easy, but in the moment, it's hard. It is a challenge. Something that feels like a blindside that knocks you off your emotional feet. Another thing that I have learned since, and I'm still learning because I haven't stopped grieving. Grieving is necessary. There is no amount of work that I can do to distract myself. There is no amount of projects that I can plan on so that I can think about other things and not think about mom or dad or past relationships or connections that are still broken to this day. Grieving is necessary. It's part of the cleansing process. It's readapting. Yes, I acknowledge that life force energy has moved on. So it's readapting how I feel about the time that I spent with her, that energy that I put into her. Now I can reshift the energy for me and for my family that's still alive, obviously. Another thing that I've learned, we can have more than one purpose in life throughout many stages of our life. In caring for mom, I felt so centered on this is my purpose. So when she passed, where does my purpose go? But the thing is she was my purpose for that moment of time. And now I have other purposes to focus on. And they give me the fulfilling feeling because I have something else to focus on, yes, but I have something to look forward to. It may not be her smiling face. It may not be the routine that it once was, but it's just looking forward to something else and giving back and putting into my life and the life of others that I feel that I can make a difference in. And that feels good. That feels good. Much better than it did several months ago. Another thing that I learned was something that mom was trying to tell me throughout life. And I always took the response that, or felt the response of, you're just saying that to get me to do something. Life is what you make it. Let that sink in. Life is what you make it. The Holy Spirit may have the blueprints, but you just have to listen to that soft, gentle whisper and follow it. And then life becomes what you make it. So I could have made my life be really difficult and challenging, and I could have given in to the grieving to the point that my health would have fallen. But I had in the back of my mind the research that I had done before, that oftentimes caregivers either pass before their loved ones or shortly thereafter. And although my health was not in that much of a jeopardy when mom passed, not eating, not drinking water, being dehydrated, having my lipid panel just take a dive, and kidneys struggling, if I stayed in that track, it would have done a lot more damage. So stepping into the role of caregiver, regardless of the reason why you're there, however temporary you think it's going to be, there are at least two commitments. Okay, I want this to be your takeaway. The first commitment is usually the well-known till death do us part vow, because the caregiver says, I will care for you because I love you, or out of some other obligatory reason. I see you, spousal caregivers. You are also more prone to burnout a lot faster than the rest of us. The second one is a commitment that is often the one that's forgotten, and that is self-care. Being proactive means committing to take care of yourself before you reach the point of burnout. It also means that when you need to take the time to grieve, that you have these other measures in place to fall back on, that gives yourself the time, saying, I know there are meals prepped because I did that earlier this week, and because that's done, now I can go take time to just be quiet, have that solitary moment, meditate, go for the walks, soak in a tub, whatever it is that you just need to take the time and feel your way through life instead of trying to deny life is changing in the way that it's changing. The biggest blind side of all, I guess, for me throughout this whole process, stepping into this role of caregiving and then thinking, I remember years ago when I first stepped away from the corporate world to step into Mom's world of dementia, thinking to myself then, it's just for a little while. It's just temporary. I can always go back when it's done and over. That was when I thought it might be a year, possibly 2. Well, 6 years later, I'm realizing stepping away was not going to be as temporary as I thought it was going to be. And the idea of returning back to what I stepped away from just doesn't fit. Because caregiving changed me. I'm not the person I was before I started caregiving. And I don't want to become and return back to that person again. As hard as it has been, I like the person I've become because of caregiving. I wasn't prepared to witness Mom's passing, and especially the death, those stages that she went through. I wasn't prepared for that. I thought it was going to be so much more peaceful than it actually was. Dad's passing was such quiet, peace, serene. And Mom's was the total opposite. Either way, that is behind me, and yet there are so many things that happen in life that make it feel like it just happened last week. And there is no going back. There is no changing things, which is why being proactive helps so much, because you can put things in motion well in advance so you don't have the regrets later saying, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, but didn't. Because I am so relieved that I did so many things beforehand that gave me the time to grieve later. Even though I fought it and I didn't want to, I didn't have a lot of the issues that so many other caregivers deal with when it comes to the estate and probate and liquidating and just all kinds of other things that come along with letting go of a loved one. It took the process of caregiving and learning to be more of a compassionate person to realize we need to band together as caregivers. Seeing the little bit of support that's out there and how it's out there made me realize, I don't know about you, but I don't care for politics. I'm not red. I'm not for the blue side, even though I like the color. I'm not conservative. I'm not liberal. I'm for humanity, especially for caregivers. So this season, I look forward to digging into other details, other issues that caregivers often are faced with and are not able to find support, information, help. So I'm going to dive into that. And just as the Holy Spirit has made himself, his presence known to me, of being in me, around me, and working through me, we get to work together so that we can work with each other and through each other. Because when a caregiving role ends in one way, that doesn't mean it's over. It just transitions. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this episode gave you a lot more food for thought. For more episodes and information, you can go to proactivecaregiver.com. And to become a sponsor, you can send a request information to info@proactivecaregiver.com. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be proactive. Take care.